Hello, hello. Welcome to the party. Today, I want to talk to everybody a little bit about the MCU. Why is that? For those of you who don't know, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania recently hit theaters, and according to the world, it's not doing very well. Google currently has this reviewed at 3.7 out of 5 stars. Rotten Tomato has it at 47%. IMDb has it at 6.4 out of 10, and IGN has it at 7 out of 10. There is a factoid here that I'd like to read as well. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania sits at a 48% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, making it the only MCU film to rank as rotten besides the Eternals. I actually enjoyed the Eternals. I thought it was really great. The reason for me is I am looking forward personally to the expansion of the MCU as it relates to things like the Eternals. I'm a huge fan of comics. I love comics, and the MCU I think has a really incredible opportunity to bring some of these larger than life entities. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm sure people will probably come across this and be like, "Oh, I read comics too, right?" I like when I found out, for example, that Eternity was in Thor. Love and Thunder. I was like, "Oh my shit! Everything is like it's actually going down." Where you know what I mean? I was really disappointed what they did with Eternity, but whatever. That's besides the point. All I'm saying is I enjoyed the Eternals. I think it like the expansion that movie brings to the MCU in general was really, really good. It opened a lot of doors. But getting back on topic, Ant-Man and the Wasp sitting at 48%. It's the only other film, which is surprising, on Rotten Tomatoes that apparently is rotten besides Eternals. And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about what in the hell is going on with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think that a lot of the reason as to why Phase 1 and Phase 2 did so well is because, and this is just my opinion, I think it's because of the post kind of cinematic cutscene things that they did at the end of the credits, right? First Iron Man film, they have their scenes after the credits. Another film that a lot of people may forget about is Hulk. One of the first kind of MCU moments was from one of the most recent Hulk films. And it basically has Robert Downey Jr. Sitting down at a bar with Agent Ross, if I remember correctly, and he's kind of talking a little bit about putting together the Avengers Initiative. And in fact, I remember when they first started putting together at the MCU, I was actually in high school. To give you an idea of how long the MCU has been going, I'm 30 now, and the MCU kicked off when I was 15 years old. That's kind of crazy to think about. But a lot of people, in high school would come to me and they'd be like, "Oh, what does this mean? What does that mean? What, blah, blah, blah." And I would always talk to people like, "Yeah, so you got Thor, you got the Avengers, and that eventually leads into X, Y, and Z and X-Men." And I think for a lot of people, it was that excitement, right? It was like, "Oh, the Avengers are being built. Is Wolverine going to show up? Who's going to have the next cameo? What's going to be the next big bad?" and all that other fun stuff. I guess what I'm getting at is I think that the MCU is just like lost its surprise factor. I think comic books have gotten to the point where they are talked about and discussed on on such a regular basis now, where it's considered mainstream to be in the know about what is going on. People now, they can just basically Google who's the big bad at the end of this, and they will be given not only who that person is, but the impact that they had on the Avengers in the comics, and people can kind of start to draw their own conclusions in terms of where the MCU is heading, right? People can figure out, for the most part, what's going to happen in the movie before the movie happens. Don't get me wrong, some obvious things, like there is an overabundant use of CGI in today's MCU's films compared to before. Not only that, arguably, I would even say that the CGI in the first, Phase 1, Phase 2 of films was way better than the CGI than we're getting now. If I'm looking at, let's say, for example, Thor, Love and Thunder, and Thor's mask, like his helmet, the one that he puts on and it has wings, like, does that really need to be CGI? It doesn't. If you're going to tell a story that's already been told, or you're going to retell a story that's already been told, the quality has to be top notch, right? Like, people need to have that story told in a way that they appreciate, not something that's half-assed and cheap. I think that's really what people are upset about. Another option is they have is start telling new stories. You don't have to put Galactus in, and I know this, a lot of people are going to hate this. I'm just going to say this right now. But like, for example, Does Galactus have to be introduced with Fantastic Four? Is that something that must happen no matter what? This is a whole new world. It's a whole new universe, right? And I think it's important to, do retellings and bring ideas in and all that other fun stuff. It's just there's opportunity for something new here. People come up with new stories every day as it relates to comics, right? And I think for me, as it relates to the MCU, that's a little bit of one of the more disappointing aspects, right? Is there's really nothing for me to be surprised about, because I guess I know I shouldn't say I know what's gonna happen. That sounds really ignorant, or that sounds really arrogant. But what I will say is for the most part, I can put the puzzle pieces together and kind of draw a conclusion of what may or may not happen. One last thing I want to point out, and you tell me if you felt any differently. When you saw and you had the end, like when it was Endgame, right? It's the end of Endgame. It's the very end. Tony Stark is gone. They're going through the funeral and all that other fun stuff. And you saw those credits roll. Personally, after Endgame ended, even before the next film came out, I wasn't invested. See what I'm saying? Thanos died. Tony Stark's over. There's a funeral. Credits roll. Do I really want to go through this for another 10 years? You know what I mean? I haven't. A lot of the MCU films that are rated poorly, or a lot of the MCU TV shows that are rated poorly, I just kind of went into these with my needs already being met with Thanos, and I'm looking at these films as more of a guilty pleasure at this point. I think that's just kind of what the films have always been. I think that the reason why Phase 1 and Phase 2 were so successful was just because there was a lot of unknown. There was a lot of anticipation. There was a lot of mystery. Everywhere you looked in the first phases, it was, ooh, what's this do? And what is that? And what does this mean? And, oh, who's this guy? And, oh, my God, Star-Lord. His eyes are stars. He said eternity. What in the world? Ego. Is he a celestial? Oh, my God, what are celestials? There's a lot there. And we just don't really have that anymore. I haven't seen, I haven't personally seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. When that comes out, or when that when that hits like YouTube or something, I'll probably buy it. I'm not going to go out of my way to go see it. Like I said, I'll just kind of watch things if they fall on my feet and I have nothing else to do. You should look up pictures of MODOK. We'll do Ant-Man. What? This can't be real. MCU is shit. All right.